What's poppin', y'all? Who would have thought that it would be Childish Gambino of all people to set an example and show J.Cole, formerly known as J.Cole, how he should have handled his situation instead of bumping his gums, dropping a track that was admittedly good, and then walking it back and deleting the track. That's the worst thing out of this whole situation, too. The guy deletes the track so we can't even enjoy it anymore. Drake, he dropped, what was it, back to back, and he wasn't taking that down, even though he stopped performing it, which is so sad. I wish he would start performing it again, which actually it's kind of crazy coming from me because I've never even been to a Drake show or a live performance ever. So I don't even know why I just said that. See, you got to catch yourself when you're saying a bunch of nonsense. Regardless, perhaps Drake just didn't have the right to remove it because he didn't own his masters at the time, and J. Cole is under a new deal now, which a lot of people didn't take note of. J. Cole is with, or he was with, Roc Nation. Now he has, I think, a deal with Interscope. It's Cole World. It's not even Dreamville anymore. So he's got his own thing going, which probably gives him the power to take it down. But yo, just let the song cook, man. So regardless, the situation with Childish Gambino and Kid Cudi, they have not had a back and forth. Kid Cudi, I'm starting to understand more and more, although I've accepted it a while ago, why people come to have problems with him. And it's not because Kid Cudi's an aggressive person, but he does seem very, I don't know if passive aggressive is the right term, but the behaviors and the things that he say is the type of person where you're like, yo, do we have a problem or something? And then he's like, no. And then he keeps doing things where you're like, yo, we have a problem. And then you're kind of feeling like this, you know, this person doesn't mess with you, but he's not saying it outright. So you're kind of left in limbo. And that's exactly what happened with Childish Gambino. So Kid Cudi was doing something where he answers his fans on Twitter, which credit to Kid Cudi. He's been doing this for like 15 years. He's relatively interactive with his fans. Wale is another person that does this a lot, or did this a lot. So they asked him a question and said, you and Gambino got to work on something, whether it's TV, movies, or music. We'd love to see or hear it. And they've worked on stuff in the past. So the assumption is that they're cool. And they do have an overlapping fan base. And Cudi's reply to the tweet, he quoted it and said, I'm cool. Now, this is why I said this type of person is the type of person you look at and you're like, oh, okay, do we have a problem or something? Because if he didn't want to, he could have just not replied. That's always an option. You're getting hundreds of questions. You don't got to answer every single one. If you wanted to answer it and let the fan know like that's probably not going to happen, you could just say, maybe if things align for us, we're both pretty busy. That's an answer, or someone's like, okay, I got my answer if you want to make sure you answer everybody, but it also doesn't make you look a certain way. But this type of answer, Kid Cudi's been in the game for 16 years. He knows how people are going to look at this answer and what they're going to think, and he knows how Childish Gambino is going to think about it. So Childish Gambino was asked about this a couple months later when he was doing an interview getting ready to roll out his next project. And he says, Kid Cudi, if you got a problem, like, I'm not here for the beef. Just like, talk to me. Because it's like, we don't have to agree on everything, but we also don't have to be like, when I see you, we have to want to kill each other. Man, life is too short. And I love this because Childish Gambino he's echoing the same sentiment where I said, where it's like, yo, do we have a problem? But he's saying it in a funny way because nobody thought that any of these people wanted to kill each other or this would ever escalate to violence, especially not from Kid Cudi. So he's kind of clowning Kid Cudi from my perspective. I'm not saying that's his intention, but I think that's how a lot of people would take it. He addresses it, he moves on, and this is another thing that people have had issues with Kid Cudi is he's always going and saying something publicly like he did about Drake. I'm not even going to put Ye and Cudi situation in there because they're both people that just spout out random stuff. So I'm not going to say, oh, nah, he did this to Ye, so he doesn't have a reason to be mad at Ye. Nah, their situation is their situation. Same thing happened with the Kid Cudi thing, or not Kid Cudi. Same thing happened with the Drake thing when he came at Drake, although they've had issues for a long time, but he publicized it. And also the same thing happened with Lupe Fiasco. So this is a recurring thing with Kid Cudi. Do I think it's going to harm any of them? No, but the point about this is J. Cole. So J. Cole kind of gets shots thrown at him in the Like That verse. So what does J. Cole do? He comes back and he tries to son Kendrick Lamar, and then he folds and he apologizes on stage, and then he worships him on stage in his city, in his festival. Something that Kendrick Lamar, I cannot imagine Drake ever doing this, and I cannot imagine a single other rapper that would do what J. Cole did except for Logic. What does that tell you? That is the only other person or rapper that I could see doing what J. Cole or J. Fold just did. So what J. Fold could have done, instead of being impulsive, although it's definitely not impulsive, he took the time to write out that track. He knew what he was doing. He could have just handled it like Childish Gambino. He could have dropped a track that was a part of the tape where he was just questioning, like, yo, do we have an issue? What's the problem? Kind of dropping those types of bars out there. So the message is, oh, J. Cole's peaceful, but he's just trying to understand what's up. Are you really coming at me? Are you coming at somebody else? I thought we were cool. We don't need to have problems. And I think that would be received well. Sure, there would be the odd person that's saying, like, oh, why isn't he coming at him harder? But just like in the first leaked track, or no, actually Drake came at him pretty hard on the first one. He could have came harder if you guys, like, in more personal terms. But if J. Fold had just dropped that, I think it would have been left, the ball would have been left in Kendrick Lamar's court. And then he would have had to escalate it. And I think he could have looked unfavorable in front of people, because if Kendrick Lamar is coming aggressively, he hasn't really rapped. J. Cole's favorability has been high. He's been producing a lot of good music for the past couple of years. Meanwhile, Kendrick has just not really dropped much of anything. Sure, he's dropped Mr. Morale, but J. Cole since 2018, he's been consistent. Or 2017? For Your Eyes Only, was that 2018? Man, the years just start flying by. So J. Cole was consistent. And for him to be like, yo, what's the deal? Do we have a problem? I've been out here working. We were cool. We were supposed to do a project together. Or that was just something fans had always expected. I think they did like 2 remixes of each other's songs way, way back. This is probably 2014. And then fans would look at it like, yo, what's the issue with Kendrick Lamar? So the narrative could start shifting to, is Kendrick Lamar a hater, if J. Cole had responded that way instead of just straight aggression. It makes sense for Drake to come back the way that he did, because Drake is at the top of the game. There's no reason for him to play that. And it's not in Drake's character to try to diffuse a situation, where it is in J. Cole's character to try to diffuse a situation, to try to bring everybody together. I mean, you see it just from his temperament, where he was saying, yeah, you know, I'm just glad to be able to chase greatness with these other two. Whereas every other rapper is like, yo, I'm the best. Yeah, he's like, I'm the best. 50 Cent's like, I'm the best. Lil Wayne says, I'm the best rapper alive. He's not saying, oh, I'm the best 3 rappers alive. So that's where it would align with J. Cole too, and he wouldn't look soft and just overall whack, and he wouldn't write bars that he doesn't even believe. He does. I really love that clip where Joe Budden just goes in on J. Cole and says, or J. Fold, and says, man, I can't, this guy's rapping like he doesn't even believe what he's saying. When he says like his last thing was whack. I don't think Kendrick Lamar's dropped a whack album. Sure, some people will enjoy one more than the other, but the thing about frequency is, the more frequent you are, the less potent your catalog is. You can't drop an album every year for 20 years and people say, yo, he's got a perfect catalog. Who's done that? Sure, some people will say Ye, and I think those are die-hard Ye stans, but the more you shoot a shot, the more likely you are to miss. It's that simple. But also the more likely you are to hit. But if you're hitting every shot, eventually a miss is gonna come. But with music, you can take your time and make sure you're really crafting something, which is what Kendrick Lamar opts to do. I just think they're 2 different strategies. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the perception would have been way different if J. Cole wanted to take this peaceful angle, but dropped, let's say he dropped the first song, and then instead of deleting the song, he dropped another song that had this type of energy, where he like reflects on his song and I wouldn't say disavows it, but it's like, man, you had me hot. Actually, nah, scratch that. First song, J. Cole drops. He's wondering why Kendrick Lamar's dissing him. He's wondering why they have issues. And he's like, yo, I thought we were cool, this and that. If he came with that energy, trying to diffuse the situation and looking at Kendrick Lamar like, yo, we haven't seen you in years. You pop out every now and then to take shots. What's up with that? We've been holding the game down while you've been gone, or I've been holding the game down while you've been gone. How would you receive that? Would that make you look at Kendrick Lamar a little bit differently? Or would you kind of be looking at J. Cole like, why would you even say this and not come at him harder? Interested in seeing the responses to that. Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.